Hayley and I met in college, we had numerous conversations because we're getting to know each other, and one of the first things that we both said is that we'd like to adopt.
So when we started considering adoption, we looked at all the different programs that Gladney offers. We did one of the intake calls and heard about the different programs that they have, and then decided to weigh the options. To be quite honest, neither of us are really baby people. We like to sleep through the night and have our regular schedule and be able to travel and do all of those things. So we were always open to bringing older kids into our home. At first, we thought, when they said, oh, through New Beginnings, you can get kids maybe as young as 5, typically not younger. We were like, you know what? There's an elementary school opening in our neighborhood soon. This could be great. So it just really seemed like the best fit of all the programs that Gladney had to offer. Yeah, when we started out and did our home study, I think we said we were open all ages, 2 to 10 or 2 to 12? Mm-hmm. Pretty broad range, but mostly on the younger end. And again, same thought most people probably have going into adoption, like the younger they are, the less trauma they will have been through, the easier the adjustment will be, things like that, as well as just the practical things of, it's a new neighborhood, there's an elementary school opening, so everything would be close to home. They could literally walk across the street to school. That was kind of our initial thought process going into it. Plus we do have a younger niece, so we thought younger kids would probably be a good age range for her. And then as we went through the process and had some experiences and went to a couple of virtual match events and started hearing stories, we realized it's mostly older kids that are in the system. The first match event we went to is actually where we met our daughter, and at that event I think there were 3 kids out of the 25 or so that were there that were under the age of 10. It was all primarily teenagers. So that in itself was just eye-opening, because we walked in there so nervous, how do we interact with little kids? We're not around them very often. And then it's all teenagers, and we're like, wait a minute, we kind of know how to interact with these kids. We worked with them a lot in college. So it was just kind of a natural change of thought that it surprised us as well as our caseworker.
We based everything off of our situation, our surroundings and everything, and literally nothing off of the kid itself. And all of that kind of went out the window when we met Lily. And so she really changed a lot of our ideas. I remember looking at her photo in this book and saying, we really need to go talk to her. And so I felt drawn to this kid that looked so much like I felt whenever I was younger, and things that we identified with. She was wearing a Ghostbuster shirt and had some green hair, and she went and sat by a kid who was just sitting by themselves, and so I could see kindness. There's so many little things that drew it, and that kind of moment kind of broke us out of the idea of, you know what? I think we would be more comfortable with older. We even put a cap, I think, at 12 and stuff, and we were really trying not to get towards teenagers, but once we met her and had little bits of interaction, I think we got to talk to her for all of 5 minutes that day. And so it was really something, but as soon as that happened, we just started emailing and asking, and when can we meet? When can we talk about? When can we look at her file? So
I think I emailed her caseworker as we were driving out of the parking lot, and then she immediately responded. She's like, I just met Lily. This was the first time she had met her adoption caseworker. She was so new, and that was her first day ever going to a match event. I think her caseworker explained that she was just an add-on. A couple of other kids at the group home were going, and they were like, hey, you're now eligible to be adopted through the state, so why don't you join us? And so it was just kind of, I guess, serendipitous that we all happened to be there that day at the same time. So when we said we wanted to attend the match event, our caseworker she had a call with us the night before and tried to prepare us as best she could for how incredibly awkward it was going to be. She's like, you might walk in and they'll give you a sheet of paper to list kids' names on that you're interested in and a bag of candy and say, go talk to the children. She's like, and she warned us, she said, it will go against every instinct of what you've been told as an adult not to do with kids that you don't know. So we had prepared for that. It wasn't quite so bad. They just gave us some icebreakers to try to go play games with the kid, at least, instead of candies. But it was incredibly awkward, but the kids were fully aware of why they were there at the event. We had more than one kid say things like, so if you were to adopt me, what would my bedroom look like? Or how many pets would be in the house? So we just got used to having some very frank conversations with kids about, this is what our life is like, and we are open to adopting children and trying to get to know them from there after you've had that whole awkward conversation on the front end. It was good to have that face-to-face time and actually get to see the kids. And like John said, one of the things that attracted us to Lily was just from This was outside of the playground in the middle of summer, and all the kids had gone inside to go eat pizza, and there was a little boy sitting by himself, and she went out of her way to leave the group of teenagers she was with and go sit down with him. And so it was just incredibly kind and heartwarming to see someone do that. And we're like, you know what? We're about to leave, so we need to go just have this conversation and get to know her, or we'll be wondering for the rest of our lives, like, what could have been. So
my advice to anyone that's going to go through this process would be to just prepare yourself. Have a joke ready, have something you can be playful with, have questions ready that are easy for you to ask, and or just what do you call softball questions in an interview, something that you can use like as icebreakers to get to know them, so that it breaks the ice a little bit and you can have that little bit of interaction, just build from there. And so just getting yourself mentally prepared for everything is really, really helpful. It's like a job interview, except this person's following you home. So you want to know the person that's like, say, across from you. So you almost have to have, it's not even like you're selling yourself, but you're trying to get to know the other person across from you. And so you want to ask them a lot of questions about themselves and try to just, it's kind of like networking. You're just trying to get to know them a little bit more and get them to open up and talk about themselves a little bit. And so be ready with a joke, ready with something goofy, or ask them the things they like, their favorite color. It's just like it's kind of like you're trying to make a friend when you're really little, and so you go through all of those same awkward things. And sometimes it is, hey, what color do you like, and something ridiculous. But just be prepared with some questions and stuff that you want to ask, like not anything hard because they're kids, but just things that you can
like,
use.
What's your favorite movie, or what games do you like to play?
Yeah.
And I mean, we had prepared the same things for ourselves. We had a little summary page that we had put together that our caseworker had looked at, and she was sending that out to people as well. But she was like, "Hey, print a few copies, take them with you, and if you get to meet caseworkers for kids that you're interested in, just be ready to make that elevator pitch and hand out your business card, basically." So we tried to mentally prepare ourselves ahead of time. So placement for us occurred about a week before Lily's birthday. It was in the middle of the school year, unfortunately, so she got to move into a new home and started a new high school all right off the bat. And almost right at 6 months later, we were able to start the finalization process. So I don't know if you had a take on it, but everything felt like it went incredibly smoothly in my mind. No major hurdles for us that I can think of. I mean, there's the awkwardness of just someone settling into a home and getting to know each other, and all the appointments that come with a kid in foster care moving into your home, because there's so much stuff that the state requires to be done in those first few weeks.
Take off as much time as you can. Spend as much time as you can, because it's going to change everything, and your mind needs time to reset. Your body needs time to reset. Like everything about your life when it's goes from just you and your spouse to like another person. It's going to change, and it's magnetism and it's strongest. Like everything starts centered around something else, and that needs its own space. It was an amazing process for us, but yeah, give yourself space. There's a lot of discussions that we had bringing an older teenager into our home. A big part of it was expectations, like her expectations of us and our expectations of her, and what was her home life going to be like? What did she want in a family? Because I mean, everyone has those over idyllic ideas built in, and so it took us time to kind of feel each other out and what those things were and how we act around each other, and finding some sort of normal, and then making sure we weren't letting her down and everything was okay, because there's check-ins regularly about that stuff. Are you okay? Or are you regulated? Bill would say, are they bioregulated? Have you got them in some sort of normal routine, so that you can actually tell if they're okay and they're not just rolling with all these changes. And so those were big steps, but give yourself some time in it. But yes, they ask questions about what they think about everything, because the biggest part is you guys need to fit together in some way, and it's both of you guys changing together to be one. And so it's a big part of it is just trying to understand what the other person needs, wants, thoughts, thinks, has ideas about, doesn't have ideas about, and has absolutely no preconceived notions about it. And it's completely new, like what experiences are going to completely blow them away. And so be ready for that.
Yeah, going into it, knowing that obviously she's older, so she has her own opinions about all these things. We tried to just make sure any conversation we could think of to try to have to understand what her hopes and dreams for this whole process were going to be. We tried to fill as many of those out as we could. We were very fortunate that she has an amazing support team, and she had a therapist who was willing to sit down and do some kind of introductory sessions with us to help us to facilitate some of those conversations. So when that offer was put on the table, we were like, yes, any help we can get. Because again, we didn't really know what we were getting into, with the teenager, and it's been years since we've been in high school, and we don't know anyone in our family that's been through that recently. So we were like, who can offer advice on what this world we're getting into is like? So yeah, we just tried to have all of those conversations we could in advance to make sure that she wasn't have expectations that we were immediately going to let down when she got here because something wasn't how she thought it was, or her bedroom didn't have the right paint color on the wall or something like that. And then we tried to give her as many of those options as we could. So after she moved in, it's like, you know what, do you want to paint your bedroom? Do you want to decorate this? And so we got to do all those things with her as a family. My parents even got to participate in it. My dad came down and painted her room for her and made some shelves to go in her bedroom. And so we just tried to respect the fact that she was older and integrate that into as many decisions as we could. And at the same time, we were all along the way trying to reiterate and make sure her team was reiterating to her, we want this to be your choice. So if at any point you're not comfortable, let us know so that we can figure out how to reset, or if maybe this just isn't going to work out because you were old enough to make this decision for yourself. So yeah, we tried to be respectful and at the same time cross our fingers and hope that she didn't say, no, you know what, I'm done with this.
Have a lot of vulnerable conversations.
Yeah.
Have a lot of conversations where you're opening yourself up to the possibility of rejection. It's okay if they don't like your favorite meal. That's going to happen. They may not even like your favorite movie or TV show or anything else like that, and you may really absolutely not like theirs. Be okay that they're going to have different music choices and all of those things, and just be willing to be open enough to change and talk about stuff and grow and get their opinion about things. And so just make them feel as much a part of this decision-making process as you can, because that's not something they've ever had before. And so grant space, grant time. The big game changer thing for that is that she can self-advocate. She can have a conversation with you. If something's going wrong, you can ask her and she can articulate. She may not be at that moment able to articulate, but she can come around to it and you can have a whole conversation about meaning and the importance of things. That's very different than a conversation with a 5-year-old. And so that's whole different expectations, everything, but that also makes some things easier, but yet sometimes harder. And so it's pretty interesting going and taking a self-sufficient, teenager who has basically learned through the hard way that they can't depend on anybody else, and helping them up to be able to depend on us. And so that's a big process. Things that you think are normal will not be normal for them. Things that you think should be easy, such as being able to go choose your own clothes at a store, that might be an overwhelming experience for some people. And sometimes you've got to jump right into the awkwardness of it and ask weird questions of does that fit? Is there enough space in those pants? Are you sure you wear that size? Because I don't think you wear that size. And so it's a lot of questions, because kids who've gone through the system, a lot of things are just handed down, whether it fits or not, whether it's done or not. And so a lot of that ownership of, this is what I like and all those things have never been a part of it. So you're trying to give them some freedom and modes of self-expression they've never had before, and that can be uncomfortable for them and for you, and everything else, because you have absolutely no idea what teenagers are wearing this day other than what you find at Target. So I don't think I'd change a thing. I wouldn't change a thing about how our life is now. There's not one choice that we made in this that I regret at all. It's been powerful in how it's changed our lives, and it's been amazing to be called her parents, for us to be called mom and dad. That's been awesome for us. My biggest hope for her is that she has options going forward, that she can make choices and know that she's got a safety net and has a place to call home and doesn't have to wonder where she's going to go for holidays.
This process completely upended our everyday life. It had just been the two of us for 10 years. Yep. So it was completely flipped our world on end to now have a third person in the home, and everything is now built around what the school schedule is for the year and what events are going on after school and all those sorts of things that we never had to think of before. But it's been a positive change in that it's made us get outside of ourselves and just our day-to-day work routine and things of that nature, and have to focus on someone else. So that's been kind of revolutionary for us after so many years with just the two of us and our cats. But at the same time, it's been refreshing to wait, there's a whole wide world out there that we weren't aware of. We were blissfully unaware of what a school daily schedule was like for a high school student. But now we are deep in that mix, and we do homework every night with her.
At this time.
And it's been, it's just been an eye-opening experience. Then I don't think we would change anything about it. But it is completely 100% different from how things were, before she moved into our house. So change in the best way.
I think this whole process opens you up to being empathetic towards a lot of other people and understanding the world around you a lot more. One of the big conversations we had in motivation that we spoke about, like when we were doing this process, is we were starting to feel disconnected from the world around us. We lived in a nice place, we had nice things, we could take vacations when we wanted, we could go do things and could have a life that we've always dreamed of. But at the same time, we'd never probably felt more disconnected in the world. We weren't struggling for things. We didn't have big issues that we had to, dedicate all of our time to or anything else like that. But we wanted to be able to reconnect to the world, and a big part of that we thought we were missing as kids. And so, we've never wanted to have one of our own, but we've always thought about adopting. And so, it was a way for us to reconnect with the world around us, so that we don't lose, ourselves and all of this, just constantly just doing for ourselves and thinking for ourselves. And so this. I think it's made me a better boss, better husband, better coworker. It's helped everything in my life.